All right. Hello. This is lesson 1.2.1. I'm only going to be going over specific questions because a lot of the other questions we don't really need. And so I just want to at least talk through some of these specific ones with you together. So as you're watching this, I should say, feel free to follow along with the classwork packets. You can write your work on there. The expectation is not to finish this classwork since for some of you that are watching this, you were absent for a few days and you just need a quick refresher on how to do some of these things. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with 1-48. And so as I go through this, unfortunately, I can't scroll and keep the same ink, so I will have to erase if I do need to scroll. So just to let you know that you're aware of what's going to happen. So for 1-48, have you ever noticed what happens when you look in a mirror? Have you ever tried to read words while looking in a mirror? What happens? And so if you were to hold this word geo onto a mirror, I'm just going to imagine that there's sort of this mirror right here. If I were to look at this image, what would it look like? So I'm going to sort of draw it here, and what's going to happen is each letter is going to be flipped sideways, I should say. But O, first of all, is the closest thing, so O should be the closest thing to the mirror. So I'm going to write O here, but then a backwards E, and also a backwards G, which I'm going to fail probably. We'll roll with that. So backwards Geo. For this one, if I were to reflect it again, it would be backwards star. So I would do something like this, and then I think this is worked. Yeah, so there we go. We got star. And then for wow, hopefully you might notice that even when you look at it at a mirror, it's actually still going to look the same on both ways. There's a reason why. We call this thing reflection symmetry. If you were to put some object to a mirror and reflect it, but it looks exactly the same, no matter how you flip it, it has symmetry in that sense. So in this case, that's how we would write it out. For 1-49, it says, when Kenji spun the flag shown at right very quickly about its pole, he noticed a three-dimensional shape emerge. Part A, what shape did he see? So draw a picture of the three-dimensional shape on your paper. So something that I mentioned in class about this question is, imagine if we were to spin this all in a circle. And I know for my pencil, I'm going to try to visualize it, sort of going in like this sort of direction here. If you notice, and I keep going like this, on the bottom, the shape that's made is going to be a circle. But on the top, no matter how I rotate it, the point is still going to be a point. So we have to think, okay, what 3D shape has a point on top and has a circle on the bottom? When you start to think about it, maybe you might look up a picture. It'll be a cone, and it's in sort of our perspective of a cone, it's going to be an upside down cone, because I know some of you guys might think of an ice cream cone, but it's sort of upside down. Now for part B, it's saying, what would the flag need to look like so that a sphere, like a shape of a basketball, is formed when the flag is rotated about its pole? So if this is my flagpole here, I need to think, what shape do I need to make a sphere? Now keep in mind, a sphere is just a shape that's made up of multiple circles. So we have to think something in related to a circle. Just like how the first flag is sort of just a triangle, it's like half of a shape. I want us to think, okay, well, we can think of a half of a circle, a semicircle, actually. And so we can draw it something like that. Or I know some people draw it a little fatter, but we want to try to have that little perfect half circle. And that's going to help us make a sphere, because when you draw it around, it's going to go all the way around. It's going to make that nice little sphere shape. Okay. So that's just a quick, I guess, a preparation for reflection, which is the first transformation. So when we think about reflection, we think of the word flip. Now, keep in mind, for our assessments moving forward, I want to make sure that we're good with the vocab. And so rather than using flip, I want you to use the correct terminology, which is reflection, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and clear this. If you need to go back, just go back into the video, no big deal. I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to pop up the resource page here. So this resource page should be the next page on your packet. And so I'm going to try to get the paint here. All right, and so we got this going. So I'm asking you to reflect these shapes across these lines of reflections. Numbers 1 and 2, we're going to sort of follow the same pattern. If you notice, there's on the shape, there's multiple points, and they are a certain distance away from the line of reflection. I'm going to start off on this point right here. If you notice, this point is 1 unit away from the line of reflection. So if I'm reflecting it across, I need to go 1 unit to the right, and that's where my point's going to be. So right about here. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. This is 1 unit away, so I'm going to put 1 unit right there. And I'm going to keep following the pattern here. This point is 3 units away, so I need to go 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to keep going here. I need to go up 2 units from here, so up 2 units there. And then make a little open square, sort of like this. And then I need to go up 1 more time, and then make another line like this, and then little diagonal. So I'm sort of just copying how it is over on the other side. Now, usually with reflections, I suggest you all use tracing paper. You don't have to use tracing paper, especially for reflections. But if you were to hold tracing paper to this, you can just trace the picture and then sort of fold it over this line, because we think about lines of reflection as if we can fold. Okay. Similar question number 2. This point is actually on the line of reflection right here in the middle, so we actually don't have to do anything. That's going to be the first point. The point that's right above it is 3 units away, so I'll go 3 units below. 1, 2, 3. And then over here, this point is 2 units above the line, so I'm going to go 2 units below right there. And then lastly, this one is also 2 units above, so I'm going to go 2 units below. And so we're going to go ahead and connect these points together. Okay. Not perfect, but you get the idea. Now, numbers 3 and 4, I'm going to take my time doing this. This is at a diagonal reflection, which, by the way, this will come up in the second chapter test, potentially, maybe even the retake. So I'm just going to start with this point in the bottom right here on number 3, right here. Instead of going like to the right and to the right, this is the line. It's a straight line. It's a diagonal line. So generally how I've shown this in class is, as soon as you make a point, just go straight down until you meet to the line of reflection. So in this case, it's 2 units going down. So in order to reflect it, instead of continuing to go down, I'm actually going to suggest you go to the right. Okay. So if I went down 2 units, I want to go to the right 2 units. Now, why do we go down and to the right? Well, if we went to the left, it would be over here, and that doesn't reflect over the line of reflection. I need this to go over here, right? So I can't draw it on this side. And if I keep going down, that's not really translating it. That's actually just going to, that's not reflecting it. That's going to translate it, which is the next vocab word that we're going to learn in lesson 1.2.2. So always try to go down and then to the right. And that's going to work for this y equals x line here. Same thing over here. This point right here is 4 units above, so I need to go 4 units down, 4 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This is 5 units away, so I'll go 5 units over here. And then makes a little closed, little open square here. This point right here is 2 units above. Or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to go right there. This point up here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my last point that I need to copy down is right here. That's 2 points above. So I'm going to go 2 points to the right. So now connecting everything, I'll do my best to make as straight lines as possible. Yes, I know I could use the line tool, but just trying to get this done as soon as possible. And so it's going to look something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the points are there. Okay. So once again, we're going to try to go down and then to the right whenever we have that diagonal line of reflection. Okay. So the same thing applies for number 4. If you notice, though, we have points that are above the line of reflection, these two in particular, and then we have these 2 points which are below the line of reflection. So to go down and to the right works for the guys that are above. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is 3 units above, so I'm going to go 3 to the right. And so now we have our right side of the rectangle. But as I mentioned, we go down to the right. But what if we have to go up to the line of reflection? So just do the opposite. So I'm going to go up 1. That means I have to go to the left 1. So this is my first point. And then this point up here is 3 units below. So I need to go 3 up to the line and 3 to the left. And now if you notice where my 4 points are, it makes a nice little rectangle. And so we're going to connect those points together. Something like that. Again, not perfect, but hopefully you get the idea there. Number 5, if you were to flip over this little part here, it would look over to the left. And hopefully by looking at it, you might see that, oh, it might make a letter T, a capital letter T, which it will. And so the way that I would do this, since it's already touching the line, well, if it's 4 units that way, go 4 units over here. And then I'm going to go 2 units down. So 2 down. And then, and this is 3 units away. Okay. And then I go straight down, follows the pattern, and then I connect. So now I make a nice little T. And so the letter T is also has reflection symmetry because I can cut it exactly down the line and it looks the same on both sides. Now to finish up our discussion here, number 6, if I were to reflect this letter M across this line in the middle, what happens? Well, this part looks exactly the same as the other part. It's just flipped. So when you flip it again, nothing really, well, I don't want to say nothing happens. You do make a reflection, but it ends up being the same shape. So either A, you can just redraw this whole M, or B, you can leave it as is. That situation can happen. We've actually had multiple times in our lessons where we had shapes where even when we rotate it or when we reflect it or when we translate it, it ends up being the same exact shape. So you can just leave it as is. Some students do like to draw it in. That's completely fine. I'm not requiring you to do that. As long as if you were to actually put this in a test question, you would explain to me when you flip it, when you reflect it, it will look on the same on the left and the right. And why? That is because of reflection symmetry. All right, so that is really the main gist of how to do reflections. So I'm going to go back to the lesson page, and I want to show you one more question to see what is going to go on here. So 1-51, it's asking, how can you tell whether some of these objects have reflections or not? So I'm going to go ahead and start with number 1. What do we think? Well, this lightning bolt is sort of going to the left, but if we look at the image that's after the reflection, it's now pointing to the right. I believe this is a reflection. I would say yes. Number 2, I'm going to specifically look at that green leaf because it's sort of different from the other two. Now, on the left side, the original, the green leaf is on the bottom most, but when we look at the image, it's now to the leftmost. But I'm supposed to reflect it across this line. I don't think this is going to be a reflection. This one's going to be a no. Later on, this is actually we're going to be learning on the next lesson that this is a rotation. Okay. Number 3, we have this girl who is making that little face. And hopefully when we reflect it, this is what it looks like. However, it doesn't look like it's a reflection. If you were to think about it, a reflection would make this go upside down. But it's not. It's actually the same orientation. The face is, looking normally. It's a little diagonally crooked, but there is no flipping. It's not upside down or anything. So once again, this is not a reflection. This is specifically what we will learn in lesson 1.2.2, which is called a translation. We're moving it down. Last but not least, number 4. This is the tricky one. The key thing here is that there is a diagonal line of reflection as opposed to a vertical line here or a horizontal line here. So when we reflect it over, right, it's going to be a little different. But with a diagonal line, I do believe that it will match up to the image. Okay. I'm not going to do 152 because we're not really going to see this a lot until really second semester. So hopefully this helps with reflection. Again, if you have any questions as you're working on this, let me know. But yeah, hope this helps. See you later.